Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to Shred Guitar in the 80s. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite players. I did a retrospective on my channel here of this album, and it's Vinnie Moore during the Mind's Eye era. He was super clean and so melodic, and I loved his tone back then. Still playing great today, went kind of bluesier, still doing amazing things, but I just have a soft spot for that period of his playing. His note choice, he had a real strong sense of groove, and he was just so articulate and clean and played with a lot of soul. The songs in this album, every single one of them are a classic of the genre. You got In Control, Daydream, Saved by Miracle, Hero Without Honor, Life Force, NNY, which means No Name Yet, Mind's Eye, Shadows of Yesterday, and The Journey. Just a brilliant album. At the back there he's playing an Ibanez. I think that one was scalloped. He played scalp guitars for a little bit. So I thought I would talk about a couple things in this album that I found interesting, a couple little licks, and we can kind of dissect. Let's get started. In the song Shadows of Yesterday, which is one of my favorite Vinnie Moore songs, right at the end of the solo after this classical part, he does this really just killer alternate picked run. I just marveled how articulate and how clean it was, you know, and so in time. And when I figured it out, it was a really fun lick to practice. Let me play it for you. Here are the notes for that lick, and you can think of it in groups of 8, kind of chunks of 8. So it goes like this. We're going to play, the first chunk would be 15, 17, 19 on the second string, to 15, 17, 19, 15, 17 on the first. So we get this. The second chunk would be this. 19 on the second string, to 15 on the first, to 19, 17, 15 on the first. Then with our second finger we jump down and play the same note that we were playing with our first finger. And then we play 17 on the second, to 14 on the first. So that chunk goes like this. And that's kind of a tricky move at first, but when you're playing it fast, if you just kind of make sure you end that 15 and jump down and hit it, it's great. If that's really hard for you, you can go like 19, 17, 14, and then hit the 15, and it still sounds nice, and you don't have that kind of tricky move there. But sometimes when you're playing it fast, it works out. And then the next part goes like this. It's a descending 4 lick. I just love that lick. It always stood out to me whenever I'd listen to that song. It's one of my favorite moments on the album, that break. It just really made a huge impression on me. Especially, I was just really in love with picking notes. I fell in love with picking notes back then. And trying to get that down, I just wanted to sound like Vinnie Moore. The interesting thing is that I use an elbow mechanic just like Vinnie. It wasn't something I tried to copy. It just kind of came out that way. I went to see Vinnie in a clinic in 1987 around the Mind's Eye album, and I went with my friend, and when we went to see him, my friend looked over and said, his arm moves like yours, you know. And I hadn't really thought about it before. And what I do is I kind of just glide my little finger like Vinnie did back then, and my arm stays relaxed. And I remember reading in forums like in the early 2000s that they said elbow picking is terrible, you're going to wear your arm out. But I never had any problems. I'm relaxed, I can play as long as I want, and it works great for me. It's always very reliable and there when I need it. So, and I just blend all my picking techniques without thinking about it, just weave in and out. So, and I like the authority that the elbow gives you. I have a lot of power with it. But again, I'm not really consciously, it doesn't feel like I'm squeezing my arm or anything like that. I'm just moving the pick. I really like that lick a lot. It's sort of based around a B minor arpeggio. Here's that lick slow. You're going to play 14, 15 on the first string, then 17 on the second, then you play 14 on the first, to 15 on the second, to 14 on the first, then 14, 15 on the second, then you play 16 on the third, go into an arpeggio, which is 15 on the second, to 14 on the first, then you jump up and play 19 on the first, go back and play 14, then you play 17 on the first, go back and play 14 to start the lick over. So you get... You can take it down and end it that way. You can start on the and. Here's kind of a lick that is something like Vinnie would do back in the day. You're just taking 6 notes and kind of running up the scale with them like this. Vinnie used to do these type of runs a lot, and they're kind of neat because he's switching between a couple different 3 notes per string patterns. The notes for this lick would be 16, 17, 19 on the 5th string and the 4th string. Then you play 16, 17, 19 on the 4th string again. Then you play 16, 18, 19 on the 3rd string. Play 16, 18, 19 again on the 3rd string. Then you play 15, 17, 19 on the 2nd. Play 15, 17, 19 again on the 2nd. Then you play 15, 17, 19 on the 1st. Then you play 17, 15, 14, 17, 15, 14. And then you play 17, 15, 14 on the 2nd. And end with 16 on the 3rd. On the Mind's Eye album, Vinnie used Tony McAlpine's PV Classic amp, the same one that Tony used on Edge of Insanity. And he ran one of those green, I think they were Ibanez heavy metal pedals or something like that through the amp. And he got a real nice sound with that. I really like the articulation and sound on that album. I've always been more of a Marshall guy, but I really dig that solid state sound that he got on that album. I still listen to Mind's Eye all the time. It's a great, inspiring album and just reminds me to keep my playing up to par and my picking and playing clean and articulate and melodic with a nice soft touch. Those are all qualities that Vinnie has that I try to strive for with my playing. Today's album pick is Speak of the Devil by Ozzy. This album I got when it first came out, and I was somewhat familiar with the Black Sabbath stuff. In fact, I was a Black Sabbath fan. I hadn't heard all the albums, but the ones that I had, I wore out. Some of the songs were new, but when I heard it, the energy of this album is just amazing. I listened to this for the first time in a long time the other day, and I was blown away by just how great it sounds. It's a great sounding album. I guess Ozzy had to redo the vocals, but the vocals sound phenomenal on this album. And, you know, Brad's playing is just wonderful on this album. I think it might be some of my favorite playing from Brad. You know, they do something with the Universe, Snowblind, Black Sabbath. I love the Fairies Wear Boots on here. That was always one of my favorites. War Pigs, The Wizard's great on here. NIB, Sweetleaf. Never Say Die, I love their version of that on here. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and they do the Iron Man, Children of the Grey, Paranoid, 3 songs that they did with Randy. But I really love the production. It has Rudy Sarzo on bass and Tommy Aldridge on drums. And it's just fun. I pulled it out and put it on, spun it the other day, and it's just killer. Just great stuff, you know. You open it up, it's got the gatefold, which is really cool. You know, I looked for it online. I didn't see it streaming, so maybe they don't have it streaming anymore or anything like that. I know they did put out some reissues of it, but yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. Brad Gillis is just pretty awesome on this album. Well, thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun doing these shred guitar in the 80s episodes. If you like it, please like and subscribe to my channel. I plan on doing a lot more. There's so much I could cover and licks I can show and different players, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for hanging out with me and have fun picking.